Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is a roller coaster at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom and Shanghai Disneyland. This is a highly themed roller coaster based around Snow White, and it uniquely features swinging cars that add an extra element to the layout. This ride routinely gets one of the longest lines of the resort, but is it worth the wait? Find out in this review. From 1971 to 2012, Magic Kingdom was home to Snow White's Scary Adventures. This was a classic dark ride in Fantasyland retelling the story of Snow White. Nearly identical rides can still be found at the original Disneyland, Disneyland Paris, and Tokyo Disneyland. But Magic Kingdom closed their version early in 2012. The park's Fantasyland area was undergoing a massive renovation. The park decided to close the Snow White Dark Ride, transforming the building into a princess meet and greet. Then in 2014, an all-new roller coaster themed to Snow White would open named Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. This ride would be built on the former site of the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea submarine voyage and the Pooh's Playful Spot playground. And it would be built by Vekoma, who is Disney's roller coaster manufacturer of choice. A nearly identical coaster opened with Shanghai Disneyland in 2016. I have not been on this version, but the ride experience is nearly identical minus a few changes I'll point out throughout the review. Shanghai's Seven Dwarfs was placed at the edge of the park, which is what you typically see for a lot of Disney coasters. Magic Kingdom put theirs smack dab in the center of Fantasyland, meaning you can walk all around the attraction. Fortunately, it looks fantastic from all angles. The ride is built around a rocky mountain. Not only that, but it is very well landscaped, with all sorts of trees and even a waterfall. And the track is built directly into the terrain in a similar style to Big Thunder Mountain. I don't think the ride ever goes more than 5 feet above the ground. Disney basically made a terrain coaster with a man-made mountain, which is mighty impressive. The queue line starts in a peaceful forest before taking you inside the mine. The end part is a dark cave that has some of the best air conditioning in the park. It feels amazing on a hot day. Along the way, the queue line has some neat features. Originally, there was a gem sorting game, but this was transformed into a static display. But it still looks cool as you have all these multicolored gems twinkling. Then there are 7 barrels of gems. As you spin them, the dwarfs appear in the ceiling. If all 7 are spun simultaneously, Snow White appears in the center and does a little dance. It's a fun little game that encourages guests to work together. You also have a series of spigots themed to wood-carved animals. If you run your hand under them, they are supposed to play some music, but I've never seen them work properly. And it's a good thing there's so much to see in the queue line because most people have to wait a very long time to experience this attraction. This routinely is the longest wait of the coasters at Shanghai Disneyland, reaching 60 to 90 minutes most days. The lines are even worse at Magic Kingdom. It often has the longest wait in the park, hovering around the 1.5 to 2 hour mark for much of the day. While the ride is fun, it is not worth a wait that long in my opinion. At Magic Kingdom, there are 2 easy ways to avoid a long wait. 1. You can purchase an individual Lightning Lane. I imagine this ride will one day be added to the standard Genie Plus service, but at this time, it is a singular upcharge. This will cost $10 to $15 per person depending on the day. You book a 1-hour window on the Walt Disney World app, and when it's your turn to ride, you will skip much of the queue and shouldn't have to wait more than 10 to 15 minutes. Each guest can only purchase 1 individual Lightning Lane per day for 7 Dwarfs, and each guest can only get 2 individual Lightning Lanes per day across the entire resort. 2. You can hop in line right before close. At this point, the line should be significantly shorter. Lightning Lanes account for roughly 60 to 70% of this ride's capacity, and since no more are called after park close, you will briskly move through the queue. Even on days when the queue is posted at 2 hours for much of the day, I typically can get on 7 Dwarfs in under a half hour at the end of the night. It is worth noting that Disney will dramatically overestimate the wait to deter people from getting in line at this time. But don't believe what the sign says near closing. It almost always will be way shorter than the posted wait. Usually, I recommend rope dropping a popular ride like this, but it doesn't always work with 7 Dwarfs. Most people know how long this line gets, and they'll try to head there first. If you have early entry, you need to arrive at least a half hour before it starts. Then you need to be at the front of the rope drop crowd into Fantasyland. If you are at the front of the pack, I recommend getting a short wait on something else like Space Mountain instead. And if you don't have early entry, don't even try to go to Seven Dwarfs at Park Open. There likely will already be a long wait. I also need to give a weather warning. Florida is notorious for afternoon thunderstorms. Since this is an outdoor attraction, it will close whenever this occurs. You do not want to hop in line for this if a storm is on the horizon. While the second half of the queue line is covered, lightning can cause an extended delay, lengthening your already significant wait. At Shanghai Disneyland, I've heard hopping in line before close is the most successful free method. Then you also have a paid skip the line system known as Premier Access, but it is very pricey. A single ride in Seven Dwarfs costs roughly $20 US. Then you can buy a larger bundle that includes multiple attractions for $100 to $200 US. When you reach the station, you are assigned a row, but if you ask nicely, the cast members almost always will honor seating requests. I think this coaster is noticeably better in the back car because you get pulled down a few drops. This coaster has 5 trains, and I believe it can run all 5 simultaneously, but I typically see 4 in use. Each train is comprised of 5 cars. Each car is 2 rows of 2, so the trains can hold a max of 20 riders each. The seats are quite narrow, and keep in mind, your bag, if you have one, needs to ride at your feet, so legroom can be at a premium. Every guest is restrained by a U-shaped lap bar. The part across your lap is comfortable, but the side bars can get quite tight. You really get squished into this train. While speaking about the trains, the cars are able to rock side to side. It is basically a sit-down version of a suspended coaster. If you ride passively, they will sway a bit on the turns, but not too much. However, if everyone in the car really throws their weight around, you can very noticeably get your car rocking during the slower bits. It's pretty hard to keep it going once the coaster picks up speed though. I really wish this effect was more noticeable, as it would have really enhanced the ride experience and made it more special. Once checked, you accelerate rather rapidly out of the station. Why? There's a short but surprise drop taking you outside. If you're in the back of the train, you get some decent pull here. Then there's a slow turn against some rock work, but it introduces you to the swinging motion in a gradual manner. You then climb the first of 2 chain lifts, and you are pulled up it pretty quickly. Once at the top, you have a small dip and a 180-degree turn right. This builds up some speed. This leads right into a larger drop. It's not overly big, and it is shallow, but the back car will be noticeably yanked down it, so it has a little bit of a bite back there, especially if your car is still swaying from the prior turn. This leads into a small bunny hill, but alas, there's no airtime. Then that is followed by a 180-degree turn left and an S-bend. Neither are forceful, but you should get some mild rocking action at least. And the visuals during this part, and the entire ride for that matter, are quite nice. The rockwork and landscaping on this artificial hill is top-notch. You then enter the mine for the dark ride section. You hear the dwarfs singing and see all these animatronics harvesting gems. They look realistic and have good motion to them. And the atmosphere in there is fantastic with all the twinkling gems on the cavern's walls. All throughout this, you'll hear a bell chiming, but it increases in tenacity towards the end. You then see a dock animatronic who yells "Hi-ho," starting the iconic song. You then ascend the second lift hill to the song, and most people will be bobbing their head to the catchy tune. Then in the walls of the cave, you have some multicolored lighting effects and projections of the dwarfs walking. It's a nice little touch. This takes you to the ride's max height of just 39 feet or 12 meters. At the top, you have a small dip and emerge in the daylight. Then you have the ride's largest and steepest drop. It's a straight plunge, and if you're in that back car, you actually will get a little bit of floater airtime here. Then the pullout ducks beneath a bridge and takes you over the water, very briefly. Then you have a 270-degree spiral upwards. No force here, and it does bleed off a considerable amount of speed. You then have a brief straightaway on the aforementioned bridge, and you really feel the vehicle swaying back and forth here. Then you have a twisting drop left to rebuild some speed. followed by an S-bend and a 180-degree turn. They're fairly mild, but as with the first half, the course is beautiful, and you will get some light swaying. Then you hit the brakes. If no one is on the holding brake, you advance around a turn. To your right, you'll have a little show scene. On the Florida version, you have a Snow White animatronic inside a house. Whimsical music plays as she dances with the dwarfs. On the Shanghai version, the house is set much further back. Instead, the focal point is a tree with different animal animatronics popping out. Then you return to the station and unload at a separate platform, ending the 2,000-foot or 610-meter-long coaster, and every inch of the track is extremely smooth, which is the case with most newer Vekoma coasters. The coaster bits on this ride feel very short. However, the overall ride duration is satisfactory because you do have that 1-minute show scene in the middle. So what would I rate Seven Dwarfs Mine Train? I would give this coaster a 6 out of 10. It's a decent coaster. I love how this ride looks, both on and off ride. The mountain is beautiful, as is the mine that you enter for the dark ride portion. The coaster itself is not too crazy though. While you get some rocking action, it's not super noticeable unless you're on a straightaway or traveling slowly. But if you ride in the back, a few drops are quite enjoyable as you are pulled down them. This is a solid ride for all ages. I think younger kids and those with gentler tastes will like it best. It has a low height limit, and it offers a milder experience than most other Disney coasters. But I think everyone can appreciate the theming, and a few of those drops are fun in the back car. And I do think the ride is better than the old Snow White Dark Ride because it blends a dark ride bit plus a semi-dynamic ride experience. I do prefer a few other coasters at Magic Kingdom like Space Mountain, Tron Light Cycle Run, and Big Thunder Mountain, but Seven Dwarfs is still something I try to ride once a vacation. However, I sure as heck will not wait 2 hours for this coaster. It is definitely not worth the wait that long. I almost always save this one for the end of the night, so I can get on in a reasonable amount of time. So those are my thoughts on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. What are your thoughts on this Disney coaster? Are you a fan of this ride? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.